Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chicanery. As always, we are your hosts. I'm Danny, and I am joined by JT.
Hello again.
And so today is 12 hours of Sebring recap. Certainly no secret that around these parts, it is banner race. We always look forward to it. Mostly because it's just, really good, like constantly. And we've also got some I guess you could argue some new traditions that are forming around Sebring. Um, but as I like to say, that is what we call foreshadowing, kids. So I guess without further ado, we'll jump into kind of the off the track stuff initially. But more after this message. By now, I'm sure you, our dear listeners, are all very familiar with Homefield Apparel. They're the purveyors of some excellent collegiate apparel. The boys over on the main pod always go nuts for their football and basketball drops, but Homefield is also a longtime supporter of this podcast. Last year, Homefield launched their first season of Speed with Hendrick, Little 500, Aero McLaren, and Indy 500 collections, with the Indy 500 collection being a particular favorite of mine. Well, they're back for another year of Season of Speed with a new Hendrick Motorsports collection with neat Rainbow Warriors, Jeff Gordon, and City Chevrolet merch, and a 3-car collection devoted to Raising Hell and Praising Dale, both of which are already available. Now, with the obligatory joke out of the way, there's also a new Little 500 and Indianapolis Motor Speedway collection for all of those who celebrate the month of May. So head on over to homefieldapparel.com and be sure to use code VLV25 to save 15% off of your first order. Starting off with special liveries. Like I said, Sebring, special race, special liveries. So first of all, the BMW GTPs got a special livery to commemorate 50 years of BMW North America, which is funny in the grander scheme of BMW and their history. The fact that they've only been kicking around here in an official capacity for 50 years is almost a little surprising. But indeed, here they are. Pratt Miller also got these cool Mobile One schemes that were a hat tip to the old IMSA GTO Corvette of the late 80s, which is a heck of a throwback. As much as folks consider the C5s to be the start of factory-supported Corvettes, it actually goes back a little bit further, and it was these cars. So that was super duper cool. And Vassar Sullivan also had a special Mobile One scheme on board as well. Moving on from that, we talked about it a bit here an episode or two ago. Keeping up with time and things as well. Not my strong suit. But it has been made official that Danny Ukadea is joining EDEX Sport / Magma. It's the Genesis Hypercar program. To keep it short. Ukadea is also joining their ELMS program for 2025, which was kind of what we suspected. And it's the replacement for Logan Sargent. The quick and dirty version, because we've covered this in great detail, and I don't feel like we need to retread that ground, is that Logan bounced on all of his 2025 racing commitments, and so they needed a fill-in. And Andre Lautre is joining EDEC for Le Mans this year, which is fun. So I guess I'll query you about this. Lautre is no stranger to sports cars, but of course my brain always thinks of him as a Formula E boy these days. So how do you think he'll get on with EDEC for Le Mans?
I don't think they're gonna let him get away with doing 3 hours of drive time or whatever that was however long that was the last time when he was with Porsche Penske. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be interested because yes, that is a good point. Is that it was minimal. I think it was the bare minimum drive time. I think was what he ended up running. So yeah, I feel like yes, he's gonna have to pull his weight a little bit more here, but I'm not sure if that's actually a good thing or not. And there's also some chatter that Weck could possibly be returning to Silverstone. And I guess, is that a good idea or not?
I mean, I don't know. Like, from what I've heard about Silverstone, like, sure, I would definitely want another track, another circuit on, like, the WEC calendar because I feel like it needs to be a lot more expansive than it currently is. Would I opt for Silverstone? Not really. Silverstone would not be my first choice. If I had it my way, I would much rather go to like Kailami or like Hockenheim or something, if that's at all possible. Obviously, I've heard people say like Nürburgring, but I think they're just bullshitting by saying that. They're just trolling because obviously Nürburgring would not work with the current regs in WEC. People would die. But I don't know. Like, I also know that Silverstone is not like the best track when it comes to like their facilities and whatnot. Because I've heard a lot of people complain about like how it is like getting to the circuit, and like the traffic and all that stuff is like pretty bad. It seems, from what I've heard from people across the pond that have gone to Silverstone, like that was a really big complaint. And I don't know if the track has really done much to address that. Which, like, hopefully, I don't know. Like, I don't know if wet going there would prompt them to change anything because I mean F1 goes there, um, which is F1's pretty big, and if they haven't changed anything with F1, I don't know if they would change anything for WEC. I would hope, but I mean, I'm glad it's not like, because I thought, like if WEC was gonna add another race, I thought like for sure it was gonna be some bullshit like the Dubai Autodrome or some shit that nobody asked for. But at least, I mean, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's successful and the racing is good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you, Silverstone would not have been my first choice. And it's funny talking about the facilities because Bernie Eccleston basically held Silverstone hostage back in 2012 about the basically dogshit track and facilities, and clearly in the intervening time, it hasn't really amounted to all that much.
I mean, to be fair, Spa-Francorchamps also doesn't have the greatest facilities either. But to some extent, I feel like people kind of skirt by it a little bit just because it's Spa and it's so like prestigious that everybody's like, yeah, we'll put up with like the facilities sucking ass just because it's Spa. Even though I feel like Spa having such significance across multiple motorsport series should prompt them to be, I don't know, to prompt them to fix it. But maybe Spa's kind of broke. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's funny that you mentioned that because even despite the Silverstone, while granted it has not been the only home of the British Grand Prix, it has been the predominant one. And Bernie Eccleston twisting their arm a bit almost bankrupted the track. So you might be onto something with that. But yeah, to your point, Silverstone would not have been my first choice. I figure if you want to do a British circuit, like, I don't know, Brands Hatch is like right there, and Brands Hatch is pretty cool.
I think
You
there'd
know,
be chaos, honestly.
it probably would
I
because
mean, it's already borderline chaos with like GT World Challenge Europe there. So like the WEC would
yeah,
probably be similar.
you're probably onto something there. I think it could be fun chaos. But I don't know. Perhaps Weck disagrees. Ooh, I know. I guess if we're doing British circuits, go take them to like Snetterton or something.
Bolton Park, that would be even worse.
I actually, unironically, I kind of fuck with the idea of a GT, a WEC at Alton Park. Oh my god! But anyway, yeah, I agree. Pretty much anywhere but Silverstone. If I'm being perfectly honest, that's kind of the point that I'm making here. Um, because Silverstone doesn't produce basically unless it's raining. The racing at Silverstone really isn't that great. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I definitely think expanding the calendar is good. That is much like you. I mean, we've talked about it before. That's been a long-standing complaint of mine is just how short and it's just how short the WEC season is. So extra round, good. Extra round at Silverstone, less good. But anyhow, getting into some driver-related stuff. Juan Manuel Correa made his IMSA debut with the number 2 United Sports LMP2 car. And he's also joining the team for the remaining endurance rounds on the IMSA calendar. So I had actually missed this announcement until watching the race, and I see Correa on the timing pylon, the scoring pylons. I'm like, wait, Juan Manuel? And yeah, so that's pretty neat. For those of you who either have forgotten or live under a rock or relatively new to motorsports, at the Belgian Grand Prix, the F2 race in 2019, Juan Manuel Correa was involved in a horrific crash at Radion that collected like half the field, and this was in the feature race. Half the field, and also took the life of Antoine Hubert. Juan suffered some pretty horrific injuries in the process as well. He was out of the car for 2 years or something. So it's very cool to see him seemingly find a home in IMSA. But in more driver news stuff, Jose Maria Lopez replaced Ben Barnicoat in the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus because Ben hurt himself in a mountain biking accident, which if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I wouldn't have a ton of nickels, but it is also absolutely bananas that this has happened as frequently, in air quotes, as it has here recently.
I mean, it's sure, you wouldn't have a lot of nickels, but it's almost inevitable, honestly. It's either biking accidents or some snow related injuries that people are getting during the off season. And I'm some of these people, I feel like some of these teams are about to start putting their drivers on house arrest and just be like, no, you cannot do anything during the off season that does not involve either working out at your own freaking house, which to be fair, you can get hurt at your own house, but probably maybe not as badly as you could if you were out biking or snowboarding or some shit. Or you can only be in the little, because some team facilities have gyms and stuff in them, so it's they're about to just start telling their drivers that no, you can't be doing all this shit because just they just get hurt all the time.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of bananas. Again, I had heard that Ben was injured, and I had jokingly said, probably hurt himself on a bike. And then it turns out that was exactly what happened. Yeah, honestly, what I think will probably happen is they'll probably go one further. They'll probably start bubble wrapping their drivers anytime they're out and doing anything extracurricular. It's like having a bunch of grown men looking like the Stay Puffed Man when they're out walking around.
Or better yet, the Michelin Man.
Oh yes, Babindum. But but yes, it's like I said, it's hilarious. Um, well, hilarious in that way of that this seems to happen fairly frequently and nobody has learned anything from it, seemingly. Um, but yes. But anyhow, Brendan Hartley replaces Alex Lynn in the number 40, or replaced in the number 40 Cadillac, which that's an announcement that completely flew past me. Was there any rhyme or reason that was listed for that?
I'm assuming that it was because Alex Lynn missed the Rolex 24, and because he missed the Rolex 24, I don't think he was there when the team was doing testing at Sebring, because there was a lot of like testing that went on um, well before the 12-hour race actually happened. And obviously, if he wasn't there for the testing, then that's probably why he was replaced. That's my that's my best guess.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, but it still's like, huh, okay. So, but so there you go. And JDC brought in Nico Moore for the 12 hours of Sebring, which feels less, I say less random, but Moore is a factory Porsche driver, so there it makes sense why Banana Boys would bring him on for the 12 hours. But so I referenced early traditions, and what that was a reference to was the fact that IMSA is announcing the 2026 schedule in basically during the Sebring weekend. They did it last year, they did it again this year, and I feel like this is something that's going to carry on. But and the calendar, broadly speaking, stays the same. Um, but the big change is that Road America is an endurance round. It'll be 6 hours next year, which I want to take the temperature of the room. Thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's honestly like I know a lot of people have been asking for that to be an endurance round for the longest time, and I think some of it was because like it might have been like there was like noise ordinances there or something, so that was why they couldn't do it. So I'm interested. I'd be interested to like know if that changed or something, and that's why it's now a 6 hour race, or now they're able to do a 6 hour race there, or what. But I mean, it could be fun because honestly, I think Road America, if anything, should be an endurance round. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't mind that change. I like Road America quite a bit. So being an endurance round is totally fine for me. Yeah, as for if it was a noise related thing before, I don't know if they got effectively special dispensation from local zoning, local government, or um if if that's a sign that IMSA for 2026 might be adopting WEX noise regs. Because WEC this year has the GT cars, I think, at wide open throttle. I don't remember what distance. I think the GT cars are capped at, is it 100 decibels, I think now?
I
Um,
don't know exactly.
but point is that the GT cars are quieter this year. That's the point that I'm making. Um, so that's, I guess, the other way that would work is if IMSA plans on quieting the cars down for next year. So I guess watch this space. Uh, but also we have a new restart procedure. Which it's funny, this was news to me until I read it too. But apparently the GTD classes where they're split on restarts, which sure, I guess. Um So I see your note. You think that it'll result in absolute carnage. Mind expanding on that a bit?
I mean, technically, they weren't my words. They were like, because I'd seen it. I think it was somebody like talking to like, I think it was like Nikki Katzberg. So technically, that was what he had said, not me. But I mean, possibly. I don't really know if it matters if you split up GTD and GTD Pro because I feel like usually because there's just so many cars combined with both of them, like it's already calamity anyways when both classes are started together, or at least at some tracks it is. So I don't really feel like it makes a difference, and I don't really feel the need to. I don't know why they would be split anyways. I don't know. I feel like this kind of doesn't. This is like a change that it's like I don't know if anybody really asked for this, but they did it anyways. And I don't know what problem this is supposed to address, if this is addressing any sort of problem at all. Like I don't know. Like to me, this is just like confusing.
Yeah, I'm generally in the same boat. It's like, we very regularly use phrases like, solving a problem that wasn't there or answering a question that nobody asked. But at least you can figure out what the problem that they were trying to head off, problem in quotes, or question that they thought of. But in this instance, I'm like, what's the problem even in the first place? Or what is this prospective question that you think you're trying to answer? I can't figure that out for the life of me. So ultimately, I don't really think a whole lot's going to change. Because also to your point in the thing is if they were doing this at Daytona, I was blissfully unaware. But yeah, I don't fucking know. It's just, I guess, an odd little procedural change for the sake of which, I mean, okay, fine. You get a goofy little rule change as a treat. But moving on to race stuff, what is arguably probably my least or my favorite part of these, although probably nobody else cares, but um, going through and like minor BOP changes, and this year's technical bulletin is it's chunky. I kind of love it. um, so again, try not to nerd out too much here because this is when everybody's collective eyes all sort of glaze over. Um, but the big thing is how kind of having a look in GTP. The Acuras actually got kind of a big high speed boost because they were like plus 3%, which is quite significant. And the Cadillac actually also got a bit of a buff, which was curious. The Lamborghini got nerfed for reasons unclear to me, given that it's slow and useless anyway. I don't know why IMSA said we're going to slash 3% for you, but they did. I just, and then some other, minor, some little changes, certainly, because they actually, for GTP, gave a huge list, kind of full rev ranges. And there, yeah, it's just some different tweaks. IMSA BOP, even despite ostensibly adopting kind of a WEC system, I would argue at this point has gotten a little bit more granular still, which is curious. So take that for whatever you think it's worth. As for the GT cars, the 992, at least for kind of high speed stuff, effectively sets the baseline, with everybody else kind of operating around and under to some degree, which I do think is interesting. The Lexus being pretty consistent. The Corvette also being the baseline for low speed power percentage, but then actually tailing off kind of aggressively at high speed, comparatively speaking. So that's just some mild things to note, and a little bit of technical context for the Daytona weekend going forward. Which, speaking of which, GTD qualifying was, all things considered, pretty quiet. It would result in Ferraris occupying pole for both GT classes, with the 21 in GTD and the 81 in GTD Pro. Pardon me. Ironically enough, it was the prototypes that had a good time. The 04 CrowdStrike LMP2 thought it was a rallycross car, which is interesting. And then the Inter-Europol LMP2 went for a spin. Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, but my brain always shortens that to Interpol. It's like the Rosers have a race car. The TDS LMP2 would take pole. And then in GTP qualifying, the Action Express Cadillac was having some issues because the car kept shutting itself off. And it all culminated with the car making it only a couple of feet from pit exit before it stopped, and then it got going, and then it finally went kaput not that far into the circuit. It was very silly. This also brought out a red flag, obviously. And the red flag basically turned GTP qualifying into just this bonsai, frenetic, okay, you have like no time to set a time, go out. Sheldon Vanderland would end up bonking the outer wall coming out of turn 1 and would go for a spin as a result. The 24 BMW, the sister car, and the 60 Acura would go back and forth over pole, ending in the 24 getting GTP pole honors. And to your point, yes, it is very BMW for one car to go for a spin and the other one to clinch pole. This program works in mysterious ways. But moving on to race day itself, typical question, good start or not? Or good race or not, Jesus?
I'm going to say good. It was a good race. I mean, Sebring is usually a good race, so, like, I don't really have too many complaints, to be honest. I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. There's not really many things I would say, like, bothered me. So I would say, yeah, it's a good race. But again, it usually always is.
Yeah, and same. We talk about it time and time and time again, kind of the 36 hours of Florida, Daytona and Sebring are honestly probably my two favorite races on the calendar. So Sebring is basically always great. And I don't think I've ever had a bad time at Sebring or with a Sebring race. So, yeah, I would say good race. And it was definitely helped that this year the race start was pretty clean. Usually it's death and destruction everywhere when you talk about a Sebring start, but that just wasn't the case this year, surprisingly. Now the AWA Corvette did go round due to the number 70 Inception Ferrari, which it was penalized for that. But otherwise, it was clean. Now, I say all of that. It is worth pointing out that the number 24 BMW, the pole-sitting GTP, made one hell of a procedural error, violating the start, and got shipped back to the end of the field, which is just Well, it's very on brand for this team. I guess I'll put it like that. It's like you clinch pole just to completely bork the start and undo all of that hard work. Dare I ask what you were feeling when that happened?
I mean, I kind of wasn't shocked. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just like crazy to me to see like the car led for a little bit and then all of a sudden just like disappears from the lead. And I'm like, what happened? And it's like, of course they got a freaking penalty in like the stupidest way possible too, because they violated the start because I think it was like they jumped out of line too early or whatever. Like you're not allowed to do that until like you get to a certain part on the track or whatever. And it's like again, like the streak of them getting pole and then just like fucking it up within an hour and a half of the race like continues. It's like I don't know. Sometimes I just ask myself like, can this team do anything right? Like, can they? Is it possible? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's not possible, and sometimes I literally, especially during qualifying sessions, like I feel like half the time when I'm watching qualifying and there's like I'm watching BMW, it's like I feel like I have to watch it through my fucking fingers. I'm just like, because one of them inevitably is just gonna either end up in the wall like it did this time, or it's just gonna stop on the track and cause a red flag. And it's just like, I don't know. I have no idea what goes on with this program. Only they know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it either. I think it is like I said, it's just this is a very mysteriously operated program, I guess is the best way that I can sum it up. Like they'll do something really cool and then bottle it, like I said, basically immediately. It's like if you think about it, if you take, let's say, even half of these just goofy procedural fuck ups out of the equation, this is suddenly a competitive hypercar or GTP in this case entry. Like that's wild. uh, but yeah, it was very silly. But there was lots of off-roading this year. It would start with Pierre Guidi in the number 21 Ferrari, basically going for a spin off the circuit for discernibly no reason. Which this will not be the first time that we talk about the number 21 in reference to doing off-road things. And then the Pratt Miller LMP2 was not doing the terrorizing, but rather was getting terrorized by the customer Mustang number 66, the Gradient car, which makes an interesting turn of fortunes because usually that's the other way around. That being said, the first full course yellow would be brought out by a pair of LMP2s that gotten together in the carousel with one of them basically stricken on the circuit. Then, random collection of LMP2 spins, nothing unusual there. But it would be the next full course yellow would come from the number 23 Ferrari GTD, apparently getting punted by the number 10 Cadillac, the Wayne Taylor entry, and then getting effectively buried in the barriers. The Cadillac would be given a 60-second stop-go penalty, which apparently this was the source of some consternation, I know, with Wayne Taylor. They said that they claim that there was no contact and that the Ferrari lost it on its own, but also there had been some throttle issues in the number 10. So I'm not really quite sure how to parse that personally.
I don't know. Like it looked like there was contact, but I guess like there wasn't. I don't know. To me, this kind of just to some extent feels like he said, she said, they said type deal, because it's like, I mean, I don't really like, it's kind of hard to discern whether or not there was actual contact on the broadcast. I mean, without, obviously, with the information that you as an audience member are given, obviously timing and scoring, and you have, the broadcasts and shit like that. I mean, sure, you could probably look at the Ferrari, the back of the Ferrari, and see if there's like blue freaking Cadillac paint on it, and then say, oh, there was contact that way. But obviously, nobody can do that except for, well, I don't know, IMSA, and then obviously IMSA has more access to information. But I mean, apparently, like, Wayne Taylor was interviewed by Radio Le Mans like later on, and I think the lead race director, the lead steward, admitted that they were wrongfully penalized for the contact. Which obviously Wayne Taylor was very upset about that, which, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. That's justified anger. Especially if like race control admitted that they were wrong. Because their race was kind of fucked up after that, not gonna lie. I mean, to be fair, some of the Cadillacs just weren't really all that quick to be like just off rip this weekend, or I should say during the Sebring weekend. So I don't know. Their chances were kind of fucked up a little bit after that, but I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, I say, and the interesting thing about that is that Wayne Taylor said that the race director said that they goofed. But as far as I can remember seeing, IMSA themselves never put out any kind of statement about it. So again, the same thing, another sort of, kind of back and forth. Now granted, we've talked about this a lot. Certainly race directors, stewarding race control, et cetera, are not perfect. I am more inclined to believe them, personally, but certainly from the broadcast, it sure as shit seemed like there was some contact, because that doesn't seem like a lose it on your own type accident that the Ferrari had. That seemed like a get assisted into the corner from a car behind going about 20 miles an hour faster type of incident. So yeah, this is just a weird one all around. So I don't know. I suspect that this will be this is a internal conflict that'll die with Wayne Taylor and whoever the lead race director is, and we'll probably never know. But I guess perhaps in keeping with this odd incident is that this full course yellow is just fucking weird. So first there was some confusion with the Porsche Penske cars on why they didn't pit. As it turns out, the pit close light was still on. And IMSA didn't communicate. Well, the light didn't go off until late, and IMSA did not communicate until late that the pits were open. And the pit cycles resulted in the 63 Lamborghini cycling itself to the front of the GTP field, which certainly by my math is the first time that Lamborghini has led anything. So congratulations. However, that didn't last very long because on the restart, the 63 just didn't go. And it got swamped by literally everything. The broadcast initially thought that maybe the pit limiter or or I guess more accurately, the kind of full course yellow, that limiter was left on, but it turns out apparently there was some miscommunication between Grosjean and the pit wall, which I'm not sure how that happens. But I guess it did. Okay. So there you have it. But with that being said, is that the battle for the lead at GTD Pro was pretty lit on this restart. You had the number 1 Paul Miller BMW, the number 3 Corvette, yes, those two, and the it was the AO Racing Porsche, the number 77, all fighting like hell for class lead. And Piccarello put on genuinely a clinic on defending from 2 cars. As much as AO Racing is kind of on my shit list at the moment, just because of the way they dealt with that thing with a fan that, thinks cars with teeth are kind of cool. This was genuinely good stuff from Piccarello. Because you had it was Antonio Garcia and Paul Verhagen behind and being very aggressive.
I think it's Neil Verhagen.
Or Neil, sorry. I don't know who I'm thinking of. But yes, they were 3 wide into turn 1. I think, was it second or third lap after the restart, where you had the it was, I think, the BMW on the inside and the Corvette on the outside and the Porsche in the middle, and yet Piccarello was able to make it work and keep the lead every single time. It was genuinely good shit. But of course, an LMP2 would be the thing to spoil that and bring out a full course yellow after eating shit coming out of Sunset. Just like completely missed the corner, because it's worth noting, it's not like it was the inside of Sunset, which is usually, if you're going to have an incident, it's there. It was the tire barrier on the complete far outside. It's like, how on earth did you end up there?
I don't know, but this is not the first time. This is, spoiler alert, okay? This is not going to be the first time that somebody has had contact with that tire pack coming out of Sunset, okay? Like, this is the first time it's happened. The first time. But keep that in mind, because this turn 17 Sunset tire pack, okay, it's going to become important a little bit later.
Yes, it will. And so it would take a little while to get that cleaned up, actually. It would we would have another full course yellow not too long thereafter for LMP2s just being stupid again. It would be the 99 AO Racing entry and the number 52 get together, while then you have the number 88 and 74 LMP2s getting together in a completely separate incident. It's just kind of shit everywhere in that.
The camera work when they were replaying that incident literally had me so dead, because it literally, you see like the 2 LMP2s, like you see the 99 and then like the 52 like come together, and they're like in the like runoff by like the tire barriers or some shit, and then like they zoom out and then you just see another LMP2, like then you see like the 88 and the 74 like hit each other and like spin in like the foreground, while the other two LMP2s are like still stopped in the background. It's just literally just peak. It was just so funny. Like, I don't know, hats off to that camera worker, because it was just funny as hell.
Yeah, no, the timing and the that sense of poeticness that the camera operators have is genuinely chef's kiss at times. So good. And this was one of those. But yeah, it's just the tale. It's literally like the tale of 2 completely separate yet very stupid incidents happening kind of in concert with each other. And it's one of those things where, depending on how much the LMP2s annoy you, you either laugh or groan or maybe both. But
I mean, I was upset because I'm like, the racing was getting so good in GTD Pro, and then all of a sudden saying it's a full course yellow just kind of ruins it. And I'm like, God, especially since it was because of LMP2s, which again kind of made me a little bit annoyed. Because it feels like, it felt like reading a book and it was getting good and then the book just freaking ends all of a sudden. It's like,
Yeah, then that really is the annoying part, is that, we were just talking about this, just incredible GTD Pro battle, and then a bunch of doofuses and LMP2s go and spoil it. Like, I've said, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. LMP2s are the village idiots of endurance racing, and I have yet to be proven wrong.
I mean, it's funny because we used to be dunking on LMP3s, but now it's changed. Now it's LMP2s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like all of those folks just migrated to P2s is what it feels like. Which there may be a kernel of truth to that, potentially. But at any rate, but yes, but in the tale of the two separate incidents, I know the 88 was given a penalty for incident responsibility. I don't remember seeing anything about the 99 and the 52, so I don't know if that was just ruled a racing incident or what.
I think there was just, I don't know. I think I was looking at timing and scoring. I think it might have just said no further action.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But anyhow, moving on, the GTs would apparently feel left out and wanted to get in on the action a bit. We would have the 14 Vassar-Sullivan Lexus, say that 5 times fast, and the number 48 Paul Miller Racing BMW would have a coming together with the Lexus functionally just rear-ending the BMW. And so had to, and the BMW bore most of the damage and had to pit. Then Pfaff, well, I think we named last year's Sebring episode Pfaff and their, no good, very bad, horrible day. And honestly, that could be a working title for this one. Because during one of the pit stops, it was during a pit stop and driver change. Hinch was getting out of the car, and apparently the car got dropped on his foot. Which, like, I understand race cars relative to street cars are pretty light. In fact, actually, I still have the BOP table up, so I can tell you that with the Urukan GT3 that they run is just shy of 1,400 kilos. So that's about 2,600 pounds. And that's much lighter than, say, an Urukan STO. Those cars are about 1,600 kilos. But 2,600 pounds is still a lot to drop on a human man's foot, is my point. And that sounds very miserable. But apparently he was okay. Ish.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. I mean, I don't ever remember hearing anything else about it. I mean, I just saw like they showed him on the broadcast and they were like, he had like ice on his foot and stuff like that, which I'm like, I guess that helps. I mean, I don't really know how much a little ice pack is going to do for like a multi like 1,000-pound race car getting dropped on your foot. But I mean, hey, whatever. And I guess some clarification for like the last thing with the little incident between the Lexus and the BMW. It was the Lexus that had most of the damage and had to pit.
Yeah.
And they're pretty upset about the contact. Which, it's funny because it seemed like there was almost no damage to the BMW. So it's like, okay, I guess the M4 are just fucking tanks. Like literally nothing happened, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, having a full, and it's worth noting that, yeah, it's not even like with the case of the with Hinch's thing, it's not even like, like when you're lowering a car on like your traditional floor jack, how, even when you release it, it comes down pretty slowly. I mean, these are like air jacks. These cars are up and down in like fractions of a second. So yeah, that sounds genuinely miserable. And actually Radio Le Mans talked about it. I don't know if Peacock did, but it was back in the, oh my gosh, I can't remember who it is. It was back in the early aughts. Somebody had literally the same thing happen, and they couldn't end up completing the race because it had basically fractured their foot. It was a similar thing. It was on a driver change. I can't remember who it was anymore. But at any rate, we would get a long green flag run before we get another full course yellow, because the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac was in that tire pack at 17 at Sunset. It was thought that there was a mechanical issue of some description, which, I mean, like, no shit, Sherlock. But also it's worth noting that the number 40 was also given a 60-second stop go. Excuse me. 60-second stop go for doing more than emergency service to the car in the pits. So it's like, I don't know that it really matters when a car is wedged in the tire barriers, but okay, sure. But once we got past this point, we would get a bit of calm. The number 21 Ferrari was off the circuit again. I don't know. If this whole sports car thing doesn't work out, Pierre Guidi needs to see about trying his luck in WRC. Clearly, he's built for it.
I don't know. I guess everybody that race, a lot of people they were yearning for the dirt. They want to be a kid again playing in like the sandbox or like the dirt or something.
Yes, the children yearn for the dirt. But that being said, the number 21 would eventually end up stopped on the side of the track due to mechanical issues, but perhaps related to the amount of rallycrossing that car had been doing throughout the course of the day. I don't know. But it didn't bring out a yellow, interestingly enough. And it would be like 4 hours before we get another full course yellow. And this time for the 27 Aston Martin going for a spin, and ended up stranded like in the middle of Sunset. And like it's like right at that critical juncture where the corner is, because I mean it's all walled up, it's kind of blind. And so they were right on the other side where in theory another car wouldn't see them. The Aston Martin did get going again, and everybody, generally no harm, no foul. But because of the nature of that corner, IMSA race control were very quick on the button that time. But the pit cycles would make up for it, because the number 60 Meyer-Shank Acura and the 24 BMW would collide, leaving the pit lane as they were both like released at the same time. And like, well, actually, it was the Acura was like released into the BMW. Which was bananas. And I know that was started by the car in front of the Acura being in the pits at kind of an oblique angle. Was that the 60's sister car that caused all that?
I'm going to have to go back and look at that, because I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, because I remember thinking that it was a very silly incident started by somebody being parked kind of oddly, and I feel like that was the other Meyer-Shank car. Yeah, I don't know. But yes, what happened is that the steering arm on the 60 broke in the contact, and also took a gigantic chunk out of the front end on that side as well. And speaking of the BMWs being tanks, because the number 24 didn't seem to notice particularly what had happened. But
Always a BMW at the scene of the crime.
oh, always. But the number 60 was given incident responsibility, given that, like I said, it basically drove into the 24, and it got a drive-through. And we would have all this, and the race would go green, except for it kind of didn't, because the number 88 LMP2 somehow also found that outside tire barrier, which I don't understand why that tire barrier was so popular for this race, but it was. So, and that was a straight up skill issue, because the driver looked like they were trying to drive through some undercolt tire understeer, and just kept on the gas and kept on the gas. It just drove themselves into the tire back. And it's like, but we would have the number 4 Corvette go behind the wall. Yeah, I know you said in your notes that car was black flagged for something. I didn't notice, didn't catch anything, and I don't remember hearing anything. So I wonder if it's one of those things that just kind of slipped past everybody.
It might have been, because I don't remember what exactly it was. And to be fair, a lot of people were getting black flagged for a lot of different things at that point in time. I have no idea why. So it's kind of hard to keep track of what was coming.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, because I mean the Valkyrie got black flagged, the 31 Cadillac got black flagged, the 63 Lamborghini just broke, I guess. So not really a whole lot to say there. As did the number 14 Lexus. And as did the number 21 Ferrari. It finally just said enough. And that was it for Old Yeller. Yeah, we would get a late race full course yellow. It was like 45 minutes left in the race, with the number 80 Mercedes, which cut down a tire, and it just left the carcass in the middle of the circuit. Then the United Autosports LMP2, the number 22, would get walloped by the TDS Racing entry into turn 1, and took a beating, but somehow was, well, I mean, as okay as something is in that circumstance, but the fact that it continued was kind of nuts. But it would basically, I mean, as is typical endurance racing, it would basically come down to the wire. We had one hell of a battle between the number 12 Lexus, the number 57 Mercedes, and then the customer Corvette was also kind of in the mix for that too. But the race would finish fairly calmly. We would have the number 7 Porsche Penske, which would win, and also, I guess, kind of continuing the streak because they won at Daytona as well. And also, this is the first time in like a decade, near enough, that we've had the same team win, basically sweep the 36 Hours of Florida, which is kind of a fun stat. But the number 7 would win GTP. Number 43, the Inter-Europol car in LMP2. The AO Racing Porsche in GTD Pro. And then the Windward Mercedes, number 57 in GTD. So with a bit of post-race reflection. So, I guess for all of the teams that we like, follow, etc., how'd they do? So, I guess we'll start with you.
I mean, Porsche, obviously, they won. They did pretty well, at least in GTP. BMW was BMW. They were off doing BMW things like they usually do. So, I don't know. Kind of another rough race for them, unfortunately. I mean, I think the 25 car finished like fifth or some shit, which I'm like, I don't know. I definitely felt like a win and a podium was possible for them, but whatever. I guess the racing gods it was not willed by the racing gods for them, I guess, whatever. Um the Aston Martin actually, I think this was a step in the right direction, at least from Qatar, because the car at least finished the race. Okay, it didn't DNF. It finished at the back of the GTP field, but like, again, I think it was a step in the right direction. Hopefully, the program will progress and it will get better. Hopefully, obviously, time will tell. Um, I don't know. I'm still teetering on whether or not I believe that BMW is actually improving, or if like I don't know, like if this is again like Daytona was mainly just like fugazi because to some extent it's starting to feel like it. Um, I don't really follow that many teams in LMP2, but at least like GTD Pro, Paul Miller, at least they seemed like they were on better behavior, okay, than they were the last race. Because they were always at the scene of the crime. It's like, no, can't keep doing this. So and I think they finished on podium at least, or both cars finished on podium. So I'm like, okay, this is a little bit of redemption from the shithousery that happened at Daytona. Um, so I'm glad that they were able to keep it together and be more well behaved than they were at Daytona. At least that's how I feel for my teams.
Yeah, as for mine, it's funny, we talk about kind of the, as much as we, shit on BMW and GTP, honestly, it's getting to the point where I might point that barrel at Cadillacs. I'm getting very tired of poles and leading early and having absolutely nothing to show for it by the time it's all said and done. Really, they're just as bad as BMW, if not worse. Now the 31 finished fourth in GTP, but it's the same kind of the same shit. It's like you have early speed and qualifying practice, etc., and it all falls apart come race day, and that's very confusing and very annoying.
I mean, to be fair, like the wheel and Cadillac actually, like, despite their absolutely dreadful and forgettable, quality, they actually were able to pull it together. And they actually got a decent result. Like they had a really, really good recovery drive.
Yeah,
which I'm glad. And you know what? I think I owe Fred Bestie an apology because I think I might have judged him a little bit too harshly at Daytona. Especially when he kind of fucked up that restart and just overall like didn't really seem to be on par with his other teammates. But it looked like it was a lot better at Sebring. So I don't know what happened between that time, but maybe something clicked, he figured it out somehow. But his performance was a lot better than it was at Daytona.
indeed it was. As for some of the other folks, yes, definitely Aston Martin, the fact that they finished is good. Because Qatar was a mess. But they were able to finish the race, albeit a couple laps down. But well, at least they did, because the Lamborghini, which is in its second year, need I remind everybody, did not. Again.
And it's actually crazy because I would say that their performance at Sebring this year was like a massive, they definitely backslid from last year actually in performance, if I'm gonna be honest, because like their performance was actually pretty good at a couple of races. Like Sebring, they actually did pretty well. And they actually did get like, they might have been like a lap or two down actually at some points last year's Sebring, and they actually managed to like unlap themselves like the hard way as opposed to getting like a wave by during a full course yellow. I don't really remember what happened to the car. I think it might have broke there again, but they had genuine like pace. And then there were some, I think it like Indy, I think it was last year, they also had genuine pace and were, duking it out with other teams for positions. And then this year it's just like, I mean, it's dreadful. It's dreadful. Okay, this is 2 DNFs in a row for them. Unfortunately, it's not looking good. Okay,
No.
I'm at the point now where I do not believe this program will have any longevity past this year. We will be lucky to see this program, this car back on the grid come Daytona next year. Because I don't know, at this point, it's just not looking great for them.
Yep, agreed. But so yeah, that's but yeah, so I mean Lamborghini, I follow them purely for the memes at this point. But Aston Martin, I am genuinely interested in, and yeah, this was a big step forward from Qatar. As for LMP2, again, I don't really follow anybody unironically. It's just the equivalent of pointing and saying, "Yeah, let's watch the dumb kids fight." So I just whatever.
I mean, I like TDS Racing because I like some of their drivers. I like Hunter McElroy and Mikkel Jensen and stuff. But I don't know. They seemed like they couldn't keep themselves out of trouble
No.
this year's Sebring. So I don't know.
As for GTs, of course, predominantly Corvette, which, as per usual, another kind of mixed bag here. Showed pace at times, with the number 3 car particularly fighting for the lead early, but just sort of tailed off, which is a bummer because I do believe it was P7 in class. I think was the number 3 when it was all said and done, and then obviously the number 4 broke, so it was a fair way down. It was a little bit further down the order, which is a bummer. And then
the number 3 finished 7th. And then it was also a lap down.
Yeah, and then and this is just, it's part of me feels really bad, but part is also kind of I told you so. And that is just FAF and their continued woes. I like FAF a lot, genuinely. But this is, we've talked about it before. This kind of snap decision to jump ship from Porsche, because the BOP was kind of shit, just to get a McLaren that was slow and broke a lot, to jump into a Lamborghini which is slightly less slow but still breaks a lot. And it's just like, oh my god, guys, it just, like I said, I like this team a lot and it breaks my heart. And it's also then one of those things that's like, okay, are you gonna jump to another manufacturer? Or are you
at this point, if they switch again, like they're gonna run out of freaking manufacturers to fucking like even like run at this point. I don't even know what would they even go to, a Ferrari or some shit, a BMW? I don't know. I mean, I guess
mean,
they
they've got.
could. They could switch to a BMW because the M4s are currently pretty OP, at least this year. But I mean, that could change.
Mm-hmm. The only thing, there's that from speed and thinking, kind of logistically. I know GM had expressed some interest in opening up the kind of customer Corvette program a little bit more. Because right now it's DXDT and the AWA car. So I guess that could be an option, but it's just ugh. Uh, so so yeah. So like I said, that's kind of the broad scope of everybody that I like, and that is basically that nobody did particularly well. So womp womp. But I guess any sage remarks before we close out the episode?
I don't think so.
Well, with that, I think it's Long Beach is next, if I remember correctly. So yes, yeah. So Long Beach, that's yeah, because that's like the middle of April. So we will be back for that. Long Beach is actually another really really fun one too. I guess it'll be how long does it take to get a pile up in the fountain will be the I guess that's the question. I don't know. As
I
much
mean,
as I
I
shit
don't
on.
know. It'll definitely happen. Or like either the fountain section or the hairpin, like it's usually where it always happens. Which the past couple of years it has happened, so like why would it not happen? Um, I don't know. It is only GTP and GTD there this year, so maybe having one less class of cars will make it not we'll make it where that doesn't happen, but I feel like it'll probably end up happening.
Yeah, I suspect it'll still happen. I was gonna say, as much as I make fun of sports betting, if that was actually like a thing that you could parlay, what lap is there a pile up at Long Beach? I would probably do that. uh, but on that note, this has been another episode of Chicanery, and until next time, everybody.